All right, guys, let's wait a couple more seconds here so people can come on in. Hi, Raul. Thanks for joining us. Today, we're doing a freelance podcast, Freelancer School, and we're going live on YouTube at the same time. So maybe we'll continue to do this if we get some good traction. We'll see. But today, we're going to be talking about rookie and experienced freelancer mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes, whether you're a rookie or experienced freelancer. And today, we're going to talk about the top 3 mistakes that each of them make, and then how you can not make them to be more successful. So if you have any questions about freelancing in general, you can just ask them in the chat box. And if you're listening to this via podcast and you want to start asking questions and interacting with me more, I'm Mike Volkin, by the way. I didn't introduce myself. You can join us live on the Freelancer Masterclass YouTube channel. Okay, so we're talking about rookie mistakes and experience mistakes as freelancers. The first thing I want you to realize as a rookie mistakes is that a lot of times rookie freelancers don't have their processes dialed in, which means that they'll take on a client and they just basically don't really know what to do. They know what needs to be done, but they don't know what needs to be done in terms of like deliverability, timeline. They just don't ask enough questions. So when you're on the phone with a prospect, and a prospect is someone that is not a client yet. When you're on a phone with a prospect and you're trying to close the deal, I put that in quotes, close the deal. It is your job to understand the process and think about it from your point of view. Don't ask the client or the prospect what the process is. That's your job to figure that out. So let's just say that the prospect needs SEO work done and you're an SEO specialist. And then you have to know, okay, the deliverables on my end is this. It's I've got to pull this report. I've got to go through the keywords. I've got to do this, and this, and I have to deliver to them within 2 weeks in this format. Like that's a process you have to understand. Just a question we got here in the chat box. Tell me how I can get more invites on Upwork. I'm a top-rated freelancer. Okay, well, it's not specifically related to this topic, but I have a whole course on Upwork mastery that goes outside what we're talking about today. So go to freelancermasterclass.com and check out the Upwork mastery course. It's on the lowest price we've ever had it. I think it's like $47. Usually goes for $297. All right. So check that out. You'll get tons of invites on Upwork. Yes, you can have the video live, by the way. After this class, there'll be a replay and you can watch it right on our masterclass channel. Okay. There's no reason to link. You will see the link on our channel. It'll be the top video, under the latest videos. So don't understand rookie mistakes. Another one is they don't understand managing up. The first one is you don't have a process dialed in. If you don't understand managing up, then you're going to make your client's life a nightmare. I hire a lot of freelancers on Upwork, or I used to. I still do, but mostly I have my freelancers that are long-term now. But managing up we have a whole class on this in the masterclass, but it's basically comes down to being able to communicate with your client without asking 1,000 questions. There is nothing worse than hiring a freelancer and then they just sit on this like Upwork message board as if they're chatting with you all day long. Every little question that comes up is another message in your Upwork chat. That is super annoying. I have a lot to do. I want to be able to give you a project and then you deliver it. Like I don't need 1,000 questions between now and then. So I am hiring really only experienced freelancers who can just take the ball and run with it. Learn how to manage up, learn how to anticipate questions that you have, know how to ask questions while you're scoping out the project. So when you get awarded the project, you don't have to ask 1,000 questions. That's the process and the art to managing up. Okay. And the last mistake rookie freelancers make, or last major mistake I want to outline, is you're inconsistent with your pricing. So if you look at the reviews on Upwork, sometimes you'll see like what that person was charged, what you charge that client for work. So I'll scroll down a freelancer's reviews and I'll say, okay, they charged, let's just stick with SEO. They charged $20 an hour for this client, but yet the client a week prior to that, they charge $40 an hour. Like, it's just like whatever you can negotiate to capture that client. You need to have standards as a freelancer. And I know it's super hard when you're a rookie freelancer or even a new freelancer, you need to take on work, you need money. But I'm telling you, when you start having standards for pricing, saying, I will not work below this amount, then you will start attracting the right clients. Okay. All right. So Raul, Sam, Carmilla, thanks for joining me live on the YouTube channel. So those are the rookie mistakes that a lot of freelancers make. Now, let's go over to the experienced freelancers. Now, even if you're not an experienced freelancer, you should listen to this, because when you progress in your career, you're going to start getting experienced, and you're going to start making these mistakes. And if you're an experienced freelancer now and you can identify with some of these mistakes that you're making, you might be able to learn how to rectify them. You might not even realize they are mistakes. All right. Number one, assume you know what the client needs without asking enough questions. That's a mistake. So you might be, and I'm guilty of this sometimes, somebody might come to me with some marketing strategy, and they might say, hey, I'm an e-commerce site. I sell this widget or that widget. And I'll like really in my mind, okay, I've done this 1,000 times. I know exactly what you need. And I don't ask enough questions. That was something I used, and that was a problem I used to have until I realized I was making that mistake. So what you want to do is ask enough questions, because every client is different. Every situation is different. There might be situations that you can't foresee that will change the whole outcome and process of what you're going to do. So ask enough questions, really understand the answers. And I'm telling you, if you don't understand them, maybe you're talking to a freelancer or even a prospect in another country. If you don't understand what they're saying, maybe their accent is too thick or they're not speaking your language well enough, you have to clarify that before you start work, because nothing's worse than doing all the work, delivering it, and then saying, this isn't really what I was looking for. Okay, so be super, super clear before you sign on a client what the deliverable is. All right, that's mistake number one. Mistake number two is trying to outsource the work. So this is really for the lazy experienced freelancers, the one that says, all right, I've got enough clients. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to outsource the work. So they hire you for a writing job and you outsource the writing, and you say, oh, what's the problem? All I'm going to do is just look at the document before I deliver to the client, make my changes and upload it. Well, the problem is when work starts coming in from that client more and more, you're going to start understanding that client less and less. Now, the person you're outsourcing the work knows about it just fine, but you don't. And you need to understand the client. When it's the first work that you're accepting from the client, you really should take on that work. Don't get lazy and just say, well, I'm charging $40 an hour. I'm going to outsource this for $20 an hour, and I'm just going to keep $20 an hour overhead. That's not scalable. You can't do that. You can do that like one off and two off, but really, if this is a long-term client you think on taking on, the first project you do for them should not be outsourced. Okay. That's mistake number two. So far we've got outsourcing work, and then assuming you know what the client needs for experienced freelancer mistakes. And the last one I want to talk about is trying to form an agency. Okay. So when you get very busy as a freelancer, not if, but when you get very busy and you start doing this full time and you're taking on tons of work, you're charging what you want, you get clients you love, you say, your next natural step is say, hey, let me form an agency. Well, not all freelance work is conducive to an agency. Let me tell you what the difference between an agency that will succeed and an agency that will fail. And believe me, I run my fair share of agencies. I run one now. And I'll tell you what's scalable and what's not scalable, because the first agency I ran just wasn't scalable. Okay. We made money, but I was working my butt off. All right. An agency should be formed when you have a specific set of processes, steps that you can funnel a client through. So if you have an SEO agency, and it's not just SEO, that's not just an agency. An SEO agency does inbound marketing, keyword research, for example. Okay. So you might say, okay, step number one goes to this team and they do this, this, and this. Once that's done, it moves over to step two. The client's file moves over to step two and they do this, this, and this. Then they move over to step three, where it's done for final verification of checks. Step number four is processes and deliverability. Like there's chunks of steps that you would do. That is an agency. That is the most scalable agency. You can grow to tens of millions of dollars a year and be perfectly fine. If you don't have those steps, then what you're really doing is working 100-hour work weeks, trying to coordinate with 1,000 different people or dozens of different people on thousands of different tasks. And that is not a scalable agency. That's basically you being a busy freelancer, calling yourself an agency. There's a big difference. All right, so let's just quickly review. Top 3 rookie mistakes. Number 1, don't have a process dialed in. Number 2, don't understand managing up. Number 3, you're inconsistent with your pricing. From an experienced freelancer's point of view, your mistakes are you assume you know what the client's needs are without asking enough questions. Number 2, you try to outsource the work. And number 3, you try to form an agency when all you really are is just a busy freelancer hiring people to try to do work for you. All right. So I hope these 6 tips were helpful for you. Once you understand you're making these mistakes, you'll then be able to rectify them and minimize them. Okay. Best of luck. Thanks for joining me live on YouTube. Have a good day.